Hey everyone, this is KJ, and I am here with my Week 1 matchup against Ton and the Seattle Slakings. Uh, this was the matchup that I did a team matchup analysis for earlier on this week, so I want to give you guys the game now. So I'm gonna do this in slow motion so I can kind of talk through some of the different decisions. So right off the bat, I knew I wanted to lead Porygon 2. It had coverage to hit most of his team. Shadow Ball for the Gallade, um, Ice Beam for the Tornadus and for the uh, Rhyperior, and then Discharge also for Tornadus and Milotic. Ferrothorn was a little bit of a problem, and it was really Porygon was if Porygon was in on Ferrothorn, like it was really just to kind of calc and see what type of Ferrothorn it was, and then any chip on Weavile was good. So that was sort of the mindset there. And I was download, and so this gave me a better idea to know like what kind of spreads if he's running more especially defensive, more physically defensive. So that was good. All right, so yeah, keep going. So the first few turns are not super eventful. I wasn't really going for many. Wasn't really going to try to make many reads. I was kind of just like trying to sort of feel things out and start off slow, see what. Try to figure out like what his game plan was. So I made the first few turns, I made like the various obvious plays. I mean, the Ice Beam with Torn in front of me, the Fire Punch with the Ferrothorn. But as things start to pick up a little bit, that's when I was like, okay, I start to get sort of a better feel and continue to say, all right, like now I feel more comfortable making reads and such. So yeah, you'll see. Yeah, so getting rid of the rocks here was kind of key, especially because like a lot of the calcs that I had depended on rocks or hazards in general not being in. So this is where I sort of felt like I was in a good spot, especially because on Switch Rhyperior was probably obvious, which it was, and then I missed the Focus Blast here, which that Focus Blast would have done somewhere in the depending on the spread, somewhere around half at least. So that was really unfortunate, but it's okay. It happens. Focus miss was a garbage move. I had to run it for coverage, but it happens. So yeah. Again, like I let Feeney get some chip, and I was kind of not feeling great about that. One of the things, and I didn't bring this up on team preview, I should have. I was very, very relieved that there was no Poltegeist. Poltegeist scared the crap out of me. I definitely prepped a lot around Poltegeist, making sure that like that's honestly what Crocodile was here for. Crocodile was my dedicated Poltegeist answer, and unfortunately he didn't bring it. But I guess fortunately he didn't bring it. But Crocodile was still able to put in some work, which you'll see later. So yeah, again, the obvious plays here. I mean, Surf in front of the Rhyperior, and then kind of just cycling in Jirachi, trying to get as much chip on Ferrothorn as possible, and maybe hope that he thinks I'm gonna make some kind of over prediction and stay in, but didn't happen. So yeah, the first few turns again, we're still at this point where things are really slow. And yeah, one thing that I did notice was that I think it was one of the well, I noticed that he was so around turn 4 I believe it was. So I noticed maybe it wasn't turn 4. Oh no, it was turn 3. So when he sent out the Milotic, I noticed that he was not Flame Orb, so that immediately made me think that he was competitive and not Marvel Scale. So I was like, okay, because one of the things I wanted to do was make sure that I got Feeny in to set up terrain whenever Milotic was in, so that way he didn't get the burn for the Marvel Scale. But that wasn't the case. He was definitely competitive for Crocodile, so yeah, we'll keep going. So this is kind of where the match turned a little bit. Was not expecting setup Torn, and there I was like, okay, maybe he doesn't stay in, and then he did set up, and then the Focus Blast mist was huge. I didn't calc it, but with the Eviolite still, I believe at +2, I would have lived, but that would have chipped me significantly because we were reasonably physically bulky, or especially bulky. So, uh, yeah, okay. So yeah, Torn goes down, and that was a sigh of relief because that was his biggest pivot. So now my thought was just like, okay, we need to break the defensive, need to break this defensive core, and went for the Fire Fang there, thinking hopefully again maybe he thinks I don't have anything for it, but I was like, okay, well, it's fine. I've already revealed Fire Fang, and I've revealed a Fire Punch and now Fire Fang. So I'm like, this isn't great. So now the sort of thinking is, okay, get Mega Empress in and just click Focus Blast, because we're in a situation where Focus Blast Oko's Weavile, it chunks, Ferrothorn, and it chunks Rhyperior, so... And I doubt that he would switch my... I was thinking I doubt that he would switch Milotic in on Ampharos, so I was like, there's no way. So, and just the way that things were kind of playing out, I figured that he was trying to go for the late game Gallade sweep, or Mega Gallade sweep, so, like, maybe, hopefully he could try to predict a knockoff or something, get the +1 on the Justified boost, and then Mega Evolve, and at +1, things are scary. So, yeah, keep going. So, yeah, Mega Ampharos takes the power up, no problem. And then I think this is where things actually... I'm getting ahead of myself, sorry. So, again, going for the obvious plays. And, yeah, I think that's something that I would have changed here a little bit, like going for some of the less obvious plays, but it's okay. Crocodile eats this, so that's good. Get Milotic, and this was huge. This knockoff was absolutely huge because Milotic was just... Milotic and Ferrothorn were literally just sitting in front, and every time I got chipped, they were just leftovers recovering it off. So it was really, really annoying to have that happen. So yeah, we still, like, that was sort of my play of like, okay, Ice Beam does some damage, so we'll go with that. This was one of my more risky plays. I actually expected a switch here. I did not expect him to stay in with Ferrothorn. Because my switch was really obvious, so I figured he was gonna switch into something like Rhyperior or Weavile, and so I was like, okay, I can get Feeny in, but that is not the case. I'm glad he didn't go for a power up there, because that would have been incredibly bad. So yeah, here I go into Jirachi, and now I'm thinking, like, okay, if he's gonna stay in with Ferrothorn, like, I'm gonna just start wishing. I need to get some recovery. Need to get some of my recovery here. So I get the first wish, and the first priority number 1 was get Feeny healthy, and that ends up being huge later on. So that was really good. Yeah, so he goes back into Ferrothorn, and I didn't necessarily want to get rid of terrain, but at the same time, I did want Feeny as close to 100% as possible. So, and rocks were super annoying. That was an unfortunate leech seed miss. That would have been helpful for him. And then, again, I wanted to cover all my bases there, so I was like, okay, we can get a little bit of chip on Milotic. That's fine. And this is where things start to get a little risky, because I went for the wish, and I'm like, okay, let's try to recover Jirachi because Jirachi still puts in a little bit of work. And again, if he was not Jolly Gallade, then Jirachi outsped. And so I was like, okay, I don't want to play for the Ironhead flinch late game, but I still have Jirachi in my back pocket if I need to. But yeah, so the idea was wish and then try to flinch, which I did get the flinch, as you can see. Got the recovery, and so I was like, all right, cool. So yeah, second wish, and so this now I'm thinking like, oh, if I can get another wish off, then Empress comes in, and this is free. So I was able to do that successfully, get Empress in, and now this is where I sort of felt like I had more of the momentum, and I was like, okay, let's just click Focus Blast. He's gonna switch, and that was huge. Like getting that chip on Rhyperior was absolutely huge. So now I feel good about this. I'm like, okay, whatever he does, like I can sort of I'm gonna chip it, and then my thinking here is I can trade Crook for damage on Ferrothorn and the item. So got the item. I was very lucky he did not switch into Gallade there. I was thinking he might, and I almost clicked Earthquake again, not gonna lie. But I was thinking, okay, now I need to really, really make sure that I get the item. And on top of that, I also had Scarf Togekiss in the back, and so it's like, okay, worst case, he kills Crook, and then Scarf Togekiss comes in, and nothing... Like, he couldn't risk taking a Flamethrower with Ferrothorn, and nothing wanted to take a Dazzling Gleam, per se. So, I mean, I guess Milotic could have switched into it, and that would have been fine, but then if I had went Air Slash and got a couple flinches, that could have also been problematic for him. So, yeah, I figured he would... I figured he'd probably stay, and if he did go into the lead, then I sack Crook, and that's fine. So yeah. Yeah, we just continued to sort of chip away. That Fire Fang hitting was huge, and he got rocks up, and I was like, okay, that's fine. Like, I can get rid of those, or even play with them at this point. Like, it's not a huge deal, but getting Porygon in and getting the special attack boost was solid, because now I knew Ice Beam would kill. I'm pretty sure it cleaned up regardless. But yeah, now I get to sort of see what Weavile has. And so this was actually huge because I was able to recover that off, like some of that damage off. But what I was able to do with this turn was figure out which Weavile set he was, because I was worried that he was going to be... Like, obviously he wasn't Life Orb because he didn't take the damage. I was worried that he might be Focus Sash, and honestly, so my thought was, okay, Focus Sash Weavile beats Togekiss, and it also beats... Yeah, it beats my Togekiss. That was the big thing. Focus Sash beat the Togekiss, and I was really, really worried about that. So, seeing that damage, I knew that he was Choice Banded. Like, because typically, I think regular Adamant Weavile only does about 24 to, I think, 28% with knockoff on Porygon with Eviolite. So at that point I was like, okay, I need to play around Banded Weavile, but at least I know I outspeed. So that I outspeed, and I don't have to worry about him getting an extra turn from a Focus Sash. So I was just thinking, all right, as long as I know that as long as he doesn't lock into priority with Ice Shard, like, Togekiss is good. So keep going. This was this next turn was a bit unfortunate, and I do feel bad. You never want hacks to happen at all, especially when it's kind of deciding. And so getting that big chip, getting that crit on Milotic was huge. And Porygon putting in tremendous amount of work in this game, hacks or no hacks. Like, it really was huge for this team. I was a little surprised by the bulk up there. I didn't expect that, but that was nice because I was able to get Chip on Gallade. So even if he was a bulkier Gallade, I knew that Togekiss could come in and kind of clean up. So yeah, so goes down there, sending Togekiss, and so now I'm thinking, okay, Togekiss goes through and finishes things. So he sends out Rhyperior. I get the Dazzling Gleam, and so this is why the Emperor ship was huge, because now Dazzling Gleam is to the KO. And yeah, so at this point I'm thinking, all right, if he clicks Ice Shard, with the range of tokens that I ran the calcs, and I was like, okay, well, we have pretty much I think the roll was 69 to 80 for Ice Shard, and I was like, I can't risk this. So made the safe play here, switched into Tapu Fini, and the nice thing about this, I was like, okay, well, whatever he goes for, I'm in a good spot. So now here I'm thinking, please don't flinch, please don't flinch, please don't flinch, and of course, oh no, it's the next one. Sorry. So I get the chip, and I'm like, all right, cool. Like a little bit more bulk than expected. And here's where I'm thinking, please don't flinch. And of course, it flinches. So I'm like, oh, great. Well, at least I know Togekiss can clean up. And then he misses the Icicle Crash, which, I mean, the RNG was unfortunate because, like, I flinch, and he misses the 90 or 95. I think it's 90. I can't remember if it's 90 or 95 chance. So yeah, and then on top of that, I get the unnecessary crit. So crazy RNG in 2 turns, like 3 crazy amounts of RNG in 2 turns. So that's kind of crazy. And so at this point, I'm like, okay, well, I know Togekiss cleans up, but we'll sack Fini here, and then Scarf Togekiss comes in, takes the chip, but wins with Dazzling Gleam. So yeah, it definitely, I mean, great way to start the season off. A nice 3-0 win against a very good coach. I wish there was a little bit less RNG in the game, but I mean, that's Pokemon. Can't really change that. So yeah, so that is the recap of the match. Thank you very much for tuning in, and I will be back next week with my Week 2 matchup in the TBA Season 3 Draft League versus Bubba Fubba Bubba. We'll see how that goes. He is currently 1-0, and I think he's +4 differential. So he's got a really scary team, and yeah, should be interesting. All right, thanks.